In the vast world of VR MMO, virtual reality massively multiplayer online game, known as Fantora Land, where billions of players have logged in seeking the final destination for their dreams and desires. There was one singular individual who managed to stand at its absolute peak. This person, cloaked and seemingly undaunted, stood alone against a massive army of monstrous figures, including bulky orcs and ogre-like creatures, under a desolate, sun-drenched sky where large, bat-like beasts soared. He faced the overwhelming force with a calm, almost placid expression, his white hair contrasting with the dark hood of his cloak, embodying the pinnacle of power in Fantora Land despite the daunting odds arrayed before him. Despite the presence of savage, wolf-like creatures and a variety of other monsters closing in, an emergency quest notification appeared before the peak player, challenging him to annihilate the horde with an extreme difficulty, SSS, typically recommending a party size, 12. He, unfazed by the dire warning and the overwhelming force approaching, the cloaked figure, his eyes glowing with a supernatural light, faced the monumental task alone, poised for the inevitable clash. His confrontation with the horde instantly intensified as the monsters lunged, the ground-based wolf-like creatures bearing enormous fangs and snarling ferociously while the massive, bat-winged beasts swooped down from the sky, their eyes glowing red with aggression. The intense motion lines and action symbols across the panels illustrate the suddenness and speed of the attack, signaling that the lone player was now fully engaged in the SSS difficulty fight against the desperate, bloodthirsty wave of enemies. As the air monsters swooped down and the ground forces approached, he prepared to move, the intensity of the attack visually represented by the action lines and dramatic flashes. With a seemingly easy and casual movement, his hand reached out and tapped lightly in the air, instantly conjuring a glowing rectangular object, likely a system indicating that he was using his unique abilities or equipment to fight the high-difficulty horde. Declaring "Build Out" and "Deploy," he instantly activated his unique skill, Build Out, which allowed him to rapidly deploy up to 3 types of traps using materials from his inventory, possessing a cooldown of 30 seconds. Just as the monstrous wolf beasts charged toward him, a dense formation of glowing, concentric red and yellow rings, the deployed traps, appeared on the ground directly in the path of the advancing horde, strategically setting the stage for his defense against the overwhelming assault. The deployed glowing circles turned out to be magic landmines, and when the first wave of monsters charged into the trap-filled area, they instantly triggered a powerful, fiery explosion of orange and yellow energy. The force of the explosion was incredible, tearing the ground apart, throwing up debris, and instantly causing devastating damage, evident in the shattered terrain and the dismembered monster fragments lying in the charred ruins, effectively halting and wiping out a portion of the high-level horde. Following the landmine explosion that decimated the ground forces, he targeted the remaining threat, the aerial monsters. He quickly deployed another set of traps, this time manifesting as 3 large, intense fireballs that shot upward, directly striking the flying, bat-like creatures and engulfing them in a blinding inferno, ensuring that neither ground nor air threats could safely approach him. Following the double deployment of traps, he activated another powerful ability, shouting, "Combat Forge." This revealed his second unique skill, Combat Forge, which allows him to instantly construct weapons or armor using materials from his inventory, albeit with a significantly longer cooldown of 320 seconds. While the explosions from his deployed fire trap still raged around him, the player simultaneously completed the process of constructing magic armor, which instantly materialized on him, transforming his appearance and preparing him to directly engage any remaining enemies after his initial devastating volley of traps. Amidst the lingering smoke and fire of his initial attack, he stood fully encased in his newly constructed, imposing magic armor, a suit of spiked silver with a horned helmet and glowing red accents. Immediately confirmed the incredible defensive capability of the armor, stating "damage nullified," signifying that he was completely impervious to the residual damage from his own powerful traps and the enemy's attempts. With the explosion subsiding, he was now ready for close-quarters combat, his presence radiating immense power and confidence as he prepared to step forward, his boot heavy on the charred earth. His transformation into a fully armored figure, now emitting a powerful red aura, demonstrated why a master craftsman, known as the Man of Steel, called him the Craftsman. Standing firm in his new magic armor, the player unleashed his third and final unique skill, shouting, Geo-Edit. This skill, the unique skill Geo-Edit, allowed him to alter the terrain structure using his MP, though it had a long cooldown of 440 seconds. With a flash of light, the ground around him instantly cracked and buckled, creating massive fissures and tremors in the earth, actively altering the battlefield to his tactical advantage against the remaining members of the high-difficulty horde. The fastest trapper, or the armorer, the immediate and brutal result of his Geo-Edit skill showed that neither of those names was quite right for describing his true destructive power. From the ground he had just altered, massive, razor-sharp spikes of earth erupted violently upward, instantly impaling and skewering several of the remaining monstrous wolf creatures and ogres, tearing through their bodies with bloody force, a chilling testament to the overwhelming dominance of the peak player in Phantora land. After destroying the ground forces, the player's Geo-Edit range extends to the airborne enemies, with giant spear-like pillars of earth continuously shooting up from the ravaged battlefield, not only piercing through the remaining ground monsters, but also impaling the giant flying bat creatures from below, instantly killing them and leaving their bloodied bodies stuck high in the air. Encased in his armored form, standing amidst the almighty spectacle of his power, calmly surveying the scene where his three unique skills have annihilated the high-difficulty hordes, leaving behind a landscape littered with corpses and testament to his unrivaled status. After eliminating the horde, he stood atop a towering, blood-stained spike of earth created by his skill, a magnificent display of his total control. Emphasized that his power stemmed from the wings, likely his trap placement speed, the equipment, his instant magic armor, and even the terrain itself, his Geo-Edit ability. In essence, everything he created was a manifestation of his dominance. As the armor began to recede and he returned to his uncloaked, white-haired appearance, hinting that at his core lay the secret to why he stood alone at the peak of Phantora land. Was crowned with his truest title, he was nothing more than a crazy architect, a name that perfectly encapsulated his ability to dominate the battlefield by not just fighting, but by building and editing the very environment, equipment, and traps of the game around him. Subterranean location identified as Dungeon, Dead Ash Mines, 16th floor, Lava Passage, signaling the beginning of the architect's origin story. 3 years 8 months ago, a younger clad in simple attire and already heavily breathing from exertion, found himself face to face with a terrifying monster that matched the harsh environment, a massive, dark-armored demon with glowing red eyes and horns, its gargantuan claw slamming down onto the rock near him while letting out a bellowing. Despite facing the colossal monster, the younger player, whose name is revealed to be Ren, an architect who is only LV 93 with extremely low HP and MP reserves, expresses frustrated exhaustion, as two more large, intimidating monsters of the same type charge toward him from behind. Ren hastily throws a glowing, circular object onto the ground and yells, "Smoke Disc." The action confirms the use of a simple, quick trap, the smoke disc, which creates a smokescreen with a 10-meter area of effect lasting 10 seconds, illustrating that even in his early, weaker state, Ren's reliance on crafting and utilizing traps was his core survival strategy. Following the successful deployment of the smoke disc, a dense cloud of smoke immediately enveloped the area, temporarily confusing and disorienting the pursuing monsters as Ren attempted a desperate retreat, using the chaos to hide his movements. The monsters, identified as armored cave ogres, LV 100, were powerful enough to instantly kill Ren if they landed a blow, highlighting the extreme danger of his current situation and the necessity of his tactical, if rudimentary, use of traps to evade them in the cramped, lava-filled dungeon passage. Using the distraction provided by the smoke disc, Ren frantically scrambled away, his low stamina leaving him breathless, but he pushed himself toward a tight, elevated corner of the dungeon, muttering that if he could just get to that spot, the pursuing monsters wouldn't be able to fit. Meanwhile, the armored cave ogres remained blindly stuck in the smokescreen, furiously roaring in confusion, their lack of a targeting line indicating they had lost track of Ren, the party allowing the young architect a momentary reprieve to execute his desperate escape plan in the deadly lava passage. Arriving at the designated safe spot, Ren immediately utilized his architecture skill by immediately using a pickaxe, demonstrating the versatile power of his skill, and began to fiercely strike the wall to widen the narrow gap he was aiming for. He was forced to leave his party to be able to use his skill. There, with a tired face and full of worry about the condition of his party, he was looking for scan material buried in rocks. He immediately used the exploration skill to see the scan material he was looking for, and it was seen that the material was buried among the rocks. After seeing the location of the scan material, without thinking twice, he immediately hit the rock hard with his digging axe. The hard blow finally managed to break some of the rocks, and the scan material he was looking for finally came out along with the shattered rocks. A notification box appears, initially confirming the acquisition of 1 unit of volcanic iron, but in the final image, the man is shown holding a large, glowing red crystal, clearly the source of that immense power, with a triumphant smile, and the accompanying system notification proudly displays the total acquisition, volcanic iron x30, indicating that he has successfully done a good job. After successfully acquiring the volcanic iron, Ren's celebration was immediately shattered by a devastating system message. First, the notification stated that, due to party sharing settings, volcanic iron x30 has been obtained by Mage, followed by the shocking statement, "You have been removed from the party." His joy turned to confusion. This moment of betrayal by his party members coldly greeted him, saying, "Sorry about this, Mr. Architect. We are keeping the quest rewards," confirming that they had intentionally exploited the party settings to steal all the treasures he had risked his life to obtain and then banished him. Ren is annoyed with his fellow members, all 3 of them wearing grins of triumph and satisfaction, the harsh reality of the betrayal beginning to sink in. His initial shock turns to a suffocating silence. The realization that he has been completely used and discarded by those he trusted finally boils over, erupting in a scream of pure rage and frustration. His face contorts into a mask of fury, his eyes wide, as the black speech bubble proclaims his stark realization, "I was played." The final panels sharpen his emotional collapse, focusing on his desperately clenched hands and furious eyes, marking the moment of his complete and bitter understanding of the cruel trick played on him. Just before his attention was drawn back to the danger at hand. The betrayal had left him alone in a hostile environment, and a monstrous creature with glowing red eyes and volcanic rock skin, one of the monsters that source volcanic iron, appeared before him, its jaws dripping with saliva. He calmly surveyed the escalating threat, saying, "They are coming," as he realized he now faced not one, but a horde of menacing demonic monsters emerging from the cave floor, while his party had just departed with the prize he had risked his life for. Ren finds himself instantly plunged into a desperate fight for survival as vicious, stone-skinned monsters attack, their attacks causing fiery red explosions upon impact and flying chunks of rock. Despite the immediate danger, he displays unwavering resolve, his eyes wide as he braces for the onslaught. However, the sheer number of enemies quickly begins to drain him, forcing him to defend himself. Looking around at the endless horde of monsters, he takes in the dire situation with a mixture of despair and determination, muttering, "There is no end to them." Which is quickly followed by the painful realization that the cave has become a death trap. "I'm cornered." Depicts the intense, dusty chaos of battle as the monsters close in, leaving him with little chance of escape as he has been abandoned by his group. Cornered by a relentless horde of monsters, Ren soon realizes that the only possible way out is a gap in the cave wall that leads directly to a fiery chamber filled with lava, a situation that initially seems like a fatal choice. However, as one of the monstrous creatures looms over him, he suddenly realizes, the only way out is lava. He seizes the moment, raising his hands to form a shimmering blue magic circle and shouts, emitting smoke from his blue magic, "Now's my chance," and runs frantically towards the lava chamber's exit, hoping to use the hostile terrain to throw off his pursuers. As Ren emerged from the monster-filled room, he found himself facing a wide chasm filled with glowing orange lava, confirming his earlier fears. Without solid ground, he remained trapped, so he calmly attempted to activate his unique power while running. A system box appeared, confirming the use of his instant construction skill, which allowed him to consume items to create small-scale structures at a cost of 35 MP. Utilizing this ability, he created a narrow, glowing blue path made of construction blocks that curved directly above the molten lava. This dangerous bridge of his own making allowed him to escape the immediate threat of the pursuing monsters and traverse the abyss, demonstrating his quick thinking and the usefulness of his architect ability under extreme pressure. After quickly constructing a path over the lava, Ren quickly materialized a glowing blue, digital-looking hammer into his hand, a tool befitting his architect ability. Raising the hammer high with a loud shout, he slammed it down forcefully onto the newly constructed blue structure. This action was clearly an attempt to secure or complete the temporary bridge, solidifying its presence above the volatile lava. As the hammer struck, a massive wave of bright, digital blue energy erupted outward, reinforcing the structure and ensuring his path across the fiery chasm was stable enough to continue his desperate escape from the monsters left within the cave. Ren ran along the bridge structure and, with a shout of "Fit the elevator rail," activated one of his construction-based abilities. The bridge immediately transformed its front into a moving blue digital platform with 4 visible wheels or circular components, effectively transforming the bridge structure into a fast-moving rail transport. He crouched low on the newly activated elevator, using its momentum to propel himself forward and away from the monsters still visible in the cave in the background. The elevator rail provided him with a quick and efficient means of escape. As Ren hurtled across the lava chasm on his homemade rails, he looked back and saw one of the large, monstrous creatures roaring in frustration, unable to cross the molten river and only managing to destroy a small section of the bridge. He breathed a sigh of relief, admitting, "It was scary. I thought I was going to die." However, his relief soon hardened into cold determination as his thoughts turned from the monsters back to his traitorous former group. His expression darkened as he vowed, "Just you wait. I'll bring you back for this." Before declaring his first move of revenge, "I'm reporting them to GMS for suspension." His successful escape paved the way for a new determination to exact revenge against the players who had betrayed him.